Mutant Cells were advertised as the skill equivalent to weapon cores, and while they've been hit or miss in a lot of locations, namely drop rates and some being bafflingly bad, there are some exceptions to the rule, and Freyna is going to be one of those. With one single cell and the build that you're about to see, you'll struggle to find any faster Sigma sector clear times, making Freyna the perfect person to set up as your cell farmer. So in today's video, we'll be taking a look at my updated speedy Freyna build. We'll cover all things Arche tuning, Mutant Cell, Reactors, gear, playstyle, and everything else that you may need to know. This video is also being sponsored by myself. To celebrate that 5k sub mark and 1 million view milestones, I'm currently hosting 2 competitions over in my Discord that are completely free to enter. If you want to have a chance at winning some PSN, Xbox or Steam codes, feel free to head yourself to the link below and I'll see you over there. With that out of the way though, as always, got a lot to cover, so if that sounds good, then let's get to it. So we're going to kick things off when it comes to the module screen, and we're going to be talking about what I'm trying to achieve with this build. Now, because Sigma Sector is primarily quite a vast kind of area that you do want to be able to move around, and you do have a little bit of downtime in between different fights because you have a lot of movement in between each of those zones, we're trying to be able to maximize our movement speed so that we can reduce the times or the clear times on this down as much as possible, but then we also want to be able to maximize into range and damage so that we can then absolutely wipe the floor with the mobbing and then finish off the boss when we get to the end of the level. Now we do this through a couple of different ways, but the main way that we're going to be helping with the movement aspect of this is going to be with the Red Transcendence mod of Venom Synthesis, which can be used by both base Freyna as well as Ultimate Freyna, so even if you don't have Ultimate Freyna like I do, you can still abuse this build. Now what this one does is it takes your skill 3, so instead of it being something that you cast out, it's going to be applying a buff to yourself, and this will then give you a nice buff of 30% to your movement speed, but then you'll also be leaving behind damage over time puddles of Toxic Footprint, and once again, if you add a little bit of movement tech into this, you can actually abuse this quite nicely. So obviously Venom Swamp by itself was already a pretty decent ability, but what we can actually do with this is that it's going to be increasing our movement speed, so as you can see it's quite noticeable already off the bat. If we go and check the movement stats, you can see that we have hit cap, and that's primarily down to the weapon cores that we do have inside of our secret garden, but also a nice combination of this module. So we're already moving at cap, we're moving as fast as a bunny that's going to be at speed of light, so we do also have that going for us, but as you can see we're leaving behind all these toxic footprints to be able to do damage over time, and when we kill an enemy they're also going to be leaving behind toxic puddles to do even more and start spreading it around. But on top of that, if we add in our grapple, we can see that we can actually leave behind a lot of these in a short amount of time. So a really nice way of being able to abuse this is by activating this, being able to spin around, being able to corkscrew when it comes to our grapple is also a fantastic way, or alternatively in a straight line you can actually just add in your melee, which is going to be your extra movement tech, and you can see all these extra footprints that we've left behind in that straight line, which is fantastic for some of the gameplay that you've seen in the background. Now we're going to try and complement this with as much damage as possible, same with the range, and then we're also going to get a little bit of quality of life with cooldown and duration mixed into the things as well. So we do go into skill power and skill power modifier, so we go for power increase and toxic amplification. If you've seen the previous comparison mods video that I've done in the past, then you will know that this is going to be the second most amount of DPS that we can chuck into this build. The first one would actually start absolutely destroying our cooldowns, so we don't want to be able to go that route. When it comes to the modifiers though, we do then go for focus on tech as well as tech amplification, so that's going to give us the best amount of increase to our modifier but also help us out with the skill cooldown side of things. And then we're also going to be complementing that cooldown even further by going into MP conversion and nimble fingers. To be able to hit our range cap though, which is going to be 300%, so this is going to be a triple on top of what the base was already going to be, so that is going to be our 12 meters. We are going to go into skill expansion as well as amplification control, and that 144% combined with what we have in Arche tuning, and then also with the reinforcement, the Inversion Reinforcement, when it comes to one of the capstones, that allows us to be able to actually hit the cap as you can currently see here, so that is going to be hitting our 21 meters when it comes to that room 0 trauma, and 12 meters on our toxic puddle. Now lastly is going to be the quality of life side of things, and I have primarily voted to go for duration, so we have gone for skill extension and we have grabbed Battle of Stamina. Now these two in combination, as you can currently see, have given us a nice 45.3% increase to our duration, which is going to be primarily aimed towards that of the Venom Synthesis, so I don't have to keep reprocking the ability over and over again. Now to be fair, you can do away with this side of things. I find that this is going to be the best one for me, but if you want to be able to mix up your playstyle, if you're not too fussed about being able to activate this all the time, a little bit more often and everything like that, then feel free to be able to drop Battle of Stamina for a typical HP mod, and feel free to drop skill extension and be able to go for something like Decimator, which is going to be helping you out with skill power modifier, or MP Collector to be able to help you be able to regain some of your MP back, or lastly you could mess about with Veterans Tactics if you want to be able to mess about with using your skill 4 little bit more frequently, because even with max cooldown investments, this will still be on an 11-second cooldown, whereas Veteran's Tactics could potentially get that down as low as 5 seconds. So now that we've covered the modules and understanding what the build is able to actually do, in terms of like changing up playstyle and everything, let's start talking about some of the gear, and the first place to really kick it off is going to be the Reactor. Now if you're looking for max DPS, I'm going to be recommending this one with Toxic and Tech skill power boost ratios onto a Toxic Mechanics Reactor. The reason why is because Toxic and Tech are going to be your main kind of damage dealers when it comes to your like your offensive skills. You do have access to your skill too, but that requires you to actually get hit by the enemy, whereas in this kind of build, we're going to be primarily leaving all this toxic and damage over time on the floor, and we're not going to primarily get too much kind of like fire come our way. So therefore going into Toxic and Tech is the best way. You do want to be able to go for a mounting of a tactical rifle. You absolutely do want to be able to get that in, but if you want to be able to mix things up, if you don't actually have these roles, the alternative that you could actually be able to mess about with is going to be this one here, which is going to be skill cooldown and either a Toxic or a Tech skill power boost ratio. This allows you to be able to spam your skill 1 a little bit more, so if you want to be able to spread it around, you get round about a 0.8 second cooldown come off it if you do go for this Reactor instead, but you know, feel free to be able to mess about with it. If you want to go max DPS in a smaller amount of area, then this is going to be the way forward, but if you want to be able to maximize in terms of the amount of like area that you can cover in a short space of time, then being able to go for skill cooldown and then going into one of the ratios is going to be the better deal for you. So that allows us to be able to move on to the external components, and while in the past Slayer set was the best way to be able to go, because we now understand a little bit more about skill power buckets, and then also because we've had the brand new set drop, which is the Plague set, it makes more sense for us to go for that. Plague set comes with more damage and with less downsides because we don't have to worry about the skill cost that we did have on Slayer. So not only is it actually giving us more additional toxic skill power than what Slayer was originally offering, it's also given us extra into tech skill power, so we're actually starting to see some really nice extra buffs when it comes to the amount of damage that we can chuck out. If you want an idea as to how this actually all kind of works and everything like that, I would recommend that you go check out my Plague set comparison video that I did a short while back, but Plague set is much better when it comes to DPS than what of Slayer, so therefore I would recommend that you do go for the 4-piece of this. If you're looking for roles as to what is ideal for in best in slot when it comes to Freyna, then going into HP and MP is going to be the best way. So max HP and MP recovery, max MP and MP recovery. I don't have the best memory, but I would recommend a defense and a MP recovery modifier roll onto this as well, so that would really help you out in terms of MP woes. And then lastly, when it comes to the processor, it doesn't really matter too much, but I do think that max shield and toxic resistance is the best in slot, so therefore that is what I'd recommend that you go for. Now, swapping things over to the weaponry side of things, I'm not going to talk about like generic stuff that are really good for mobbing or anything like that, but I am going to talk about the stat stick that you should be having in your hands at all times when it comes to Freyna, and this hasn't changed any time recently, and that is going to be Secret Garden. The reason why you want to go for this is kind of inside the detail side of things when it comes to the unique ability, and that's when you cast a tech skill, you have a 50% chance at max rank of being able to get Pest Control, and Pest Control is going to be boosting up your skill power. If you start getting this all the way up to 3 stacks, you get a huge chunk in terms of the amount of skill power that you'll be doing, and that is going to filter into every single one of your damage over time and every single kind of like stack that you're able to chuck out. So it is really important that you do hold on to Secret Garden, and if that was it, I mean, it would still be the best stat stick available, but the fact that it also has weapon cores that go into mobility makes it absolutely god tier, and it absolutely is the best input slot to be able to run as Freyna. When it comes to the roles in terms of like weapon cores, I would recommend going into double into sprint speed. You can see that I don't have perfect rolls when it comes to that, and I was still able to hit the sprint speed cap, so even at 38%, this was more than enough for me to be able to actually hit that. And then lastly, we also go for a roll into grapple hook charge time, and that is going to make it so that we have our grapple back so much faster, and that allows us to be able to do all those bombing runs that you've seen when I was doing like the showcase and everything like that. So now we've covered everything to do with the gear, let's start having to talk about the Arche tuning side of things, and while a lot has stayed the same, with the addition of Mutant Cells we do now have a fantastic increased amount of toxic skill power that we can chuck out through the use of that of Toxic Cohesion. Essentially how this works is similar to that of the Secret Garden stacks, but as we start defeating enemies we get a 50% chance to stack up additional toxic skill power, and that works in tandem with those pest stacks to be able to bump up both skill power buckets, so we see a really nice chunk of extra DPS. The rest of the focuses though are going to be on that of like skill power and also into range. We also kind of benefit quite nicely with the skill duration side of things because we have managed to go into that slightly, so you can see all the extra stuff that we've been getting. With the extra help from all this skill range here, we are going to be hitting that cap, and that allows us to be able to get as much range as possible into that of the build. And then lastly, that allows us to be able to talk about the Inversion Reinforcement, and this is going to be your typical kind of skill build that you should be going for. These are going to be your typical 3 slots. That's going to be that of Arche Circulation, which is going to be giving us extra skill cooldown, allowing us to be able to hit the cap for 10 seconds every 25 seconds. We also have 5 focus rounds, but you can get away with any of these focus rounds because primarily we're after the enhanced focus rounds. That allows us to be able to start bursting down bosses, so we shred away and strip off some of that resistance that they have, so our damage over time can actually do a little bit more damage. And then lastly, we have selective neurostimulation, which is going to be giving us extra MP back every 45 seconds, and it also has a chance of being able to give us extra HP as well, but primarily the MP is the main reason as to why we kind of like take this one. And then lastly, Quantum Domain, while it is a capstone, and essentially we just get this just from completing the season bit, every single time we cast an ability, we're getting that extra range and the extra skill power, so we are doing a little bit more damage, but after a couple of casts with this active, we are then going to be hitting our range cap, and that allows us to be able to actually spread out as much as possible. And with all that out of the way, that wraps it up for my Mutant Cell updated Freyna farming build. Speed is always the name of the game when it comes to farming items, and Mutant Cells are no different. With this setup, you'll be as fast as a bunny, with more stopping power behind all of your damage instances, and wider reach with your AoEs. After the fall from grace that Inez has faced, it makes sense now more than ever to rock a Freyna. So this is the section I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on Mutant Cells? Are you looking forward to Ultimate Luna to be able to drop? And lastly, which Descendant do you want to see me update build-wise next? Let me know all that and more down below. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. As I always say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well. I'll see you all on the next video.